Hi, this is Dave in the IQ Center with a quick tutorial on how to color objects. This is going to be the first part. This is going to be the sort of easy way to make a material and apply it to a object. So let's start by putting an object in the workspace. I'm going to just throw a capsule out there, and I want to turn on the lines. I'm going to go to Display and show the lines. So that's Display and select Garage Shading with Lines. So the easiest thing you can do to color an object in Cinema 4D is to just make a material in the Materials Manager down here at the bottom and drag it onto the object. So I'm going to double click to make a material, and you can see it starts off this gray color. If we double click the material, it'll bring up a little dialog box. This is the same as affecting the color over here, but we can select the color. There's all sorts of things you can set, transparency, reflectance, and things like that, but none of that will matter for 3D printing. So for our purposes, we probably just want to start off dealing with color. So there are different color modes. We're in HSV, that's hue, saturation, value, so we can change our color with the hue slider and then change the saturation with the the saturation slider, and we can get a color. So this is a blue color, and you can see it shows us a preview of what the color might look like down in the bottom. And if you just click and drag it up on the model, it will be colored. Now, one thing that you should not do is in the object there is this somewhere there's a use color. Yes, right here. In the basic tab on any object in Cinema 4D, there's this use color, and so I've seen this happen a number of times where people will turn this on and then put a color in here. This doesn't actually change the color of the object. This just it's sort of a housekeeping device to let you color things that are in but this color does not show up on the model, so do not use this. Make sure you have a material and you drag it on there. Now let's say we want to make only a portion of this colored. So this is where we can use selections. So let me make another color, and I can do that by holding the control key down and clicking and dragging this color to make a copy. I'm going to double click it, and I'm going to give it another color. We'll make it kind of a orangey color. Now let's say I just wanted to color a portion of this. So in order to select individual polygons on this object, we have to make this object editable. So right now it is a parametric object. We go up to the upper left corner and click the Make Editable, and now you can see this is a polygon object. That lets me use these modes down here on the left. So I can select polygon mode, and I can use my selection tool up here on the upper left, and just drag out oops, sorry, I have the move tool selected. Just use the selection tool, and I can paint out a selection on my object. Say I want to make a square on this that's orange. So with that selected, I can click the orange color and drag it right onto that selection, and it'll make it orange. And what you see over here is a little bit of a change in our object. This triangle is a selection tag. So what it's done is it's formed a selection tag and applied this color just to that area. And I can always get back to that selection by double clicking any of these, and it will highlight the selection area. Okay, so that's how you put solid colors on objects and paint portions of an object with a solid color. Now the other thing you can do with materials is to paint on a photographic material. So let's say I wanted to make this little area look like bone marrow, for example. So in that case, we can go find a texture that interests us. So I have found over here a little picture of some bone marrow from some website, and I can right click this and click Save Image As, and then save it to someplace on my desk. I've already done this. It's in a folder called Bone. It's bone marrow figure .jpg. So any sort of JPEG or PNG file will work fine for this. So now we go back to Cinema 4D, and now we can make a brand new material, except in our color tab, instead of having a solid color, we can load a texture. So you see down here there is a texture field in the color tab. So if you click these 3 dots in the texture area, it'll bring up a dialog box asking you to find a picture for the color. So you click the picture that we just downloaded, hit open, and it's saying here this is an important step. It's asking me, do you want to put this picture in the search path for Cinema 4D? So if you don't have your object saved, this won't work right. You're gonna so I'm gonna click no, and I'm gonna save my file. So I'm gonna hit Save As, and I'm gonna call this Test 2, and now if I do this again and click here and say open, and it's saying, do you want to put this in the search path? I say yes. It'll make a copy of this file. Wherever you downloaded it, it'll make a copy along with your Cinema 4D file. And it has to stay with the Cinema 4D file, otherwise the texture will be gone if you move it from one computer to another. So now you can see a preview of our texture up here, and it looks kind of like bone marrow. And so we can now drag that onto our selection, and you see it sort of looks like bone marrow. And if I turn off the lines, it's a little more clear. I'm going to switch to garage shading and switch to model mode, and we can see now that it is it looks sort of like bone marrow, and we can affect the size of that in the object tab. What you can see here is that it's kind of large. We maybe want that to be a little bit smaller. So in this texture tag here, so I've got when I've put this texture on, it made a new texture tag here. And if I change the length of the U and the V, so this is the length and width of how the picture is applied, I can stretch it or condense it. So if I make this 20% by 20%, it shrinks it down. You can see that in this particular picture, it's showing a border between where the picture ends. That's part of the problem with the photograph. The photograph that we used had a little black edge on it, and you can see that. But you can adjust this to your needs. And you might notice also that it doesn't look as good as the photograph that we downloaded, and that's because there is in our texture there's a little thing that controls how that texture is displayed in your display. So if your texture doesn't look quite good enough in the viewport, you can change this default texture preview size from default to some larger number. Depending on how high resolution your texture is, this might look better, or might improve the quality. And you can see it kind of does here. So that is how you paint solid colors and photographic textures onto entire objects or portions of objects in Cinema 4D. For the next piece of this, we're going to show you how to actually paint onto the object with a custom texture. So that's it for this part of it. Thanks.